I also want to point out this wasn't just Rachel Maddow. A lot of people are pointing to the Rachel Maddow interview because it was the first one out there, and everybody needed to piggyback on that to get it into the headlines today. But Wolf Blitzer also did a piece basically saying, you don't like black people, do you, Rand? And Rand said, you know, where's my honeymoon? And he's like, you don't get one in politics. But Barack Obama sure got a honeymoon even before he was elected, Paul.
Indeed he did, and then the people who started to criticize him, they were called racist for using the word socialism. So they only choose to race bait when it suits their cause. And you're right, I mean, it's everywhere. The LA Times front page, like you said, MSNBC, no less than 8 different segments yesterday on it, all attacking him. And also the Obama campaign group, Organizing for America, has sent out a mass email saying that Rand Paul supports segregation and that this should cause a, quote, massive public outcry, which then provoked Rand Paul to have to issue a statement saying he doesn't want to repeal the Civil Rights Act just because he intellectually disagrees with the scope of 1 out of the 10 titles of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's transparently a contrived attack, and I'm sure that once this comes to light, as it already is being brought to light, that they'll move on to something else. And they've already floated that with this David Korn character, which I'm sure that you've come across in the course of your 9/11 research. And this is an ultimate neoliberal establishment insider who, at every major juncture, acts as an apologist for the establishment. He denied that there was any warning prior to 9/11 about pre-attack intelligence, something which has been proven in triplicate. You know, he attacked Gary Webb for exposing CIA drug running. He poses as a liberal, and yet he's a neocon light. He's a statist. Again, he supports whoever's in power and what they do. So now he's come out with this article out of The Nation saying that basically Rand Paul's paranoid, delusional, and dangerous because he's made some appearances on the Alex Jones show. And because, like 6 of the 10 actual 9/11 commissioners, we talk about, 9/11 being a cover-up, which supposedly, in Korn's worldview, which is about 5 or 6 years past its sell-by date, makes Rand Paul, this paranoid nutcase conspiracy theorist, unfit to be a senator.
Well, we know that's absolutely unbelievable. You look at the evidence, they're running drills of planes being hijacked and driven into buildings at the same exact time, just like the 7/7 bombings. And again, the inquest into the 7/7 bombings is now going to look at the MI5 role. Expect a whitewash. The bottom line is the establishment out there has about 6 months to really try to discredit Rand Paul with their vicious attacks, with their lies, in conjunction with their voting machine fraud. I mean, they better get the Diebold systems in there quick, or this guy may be a senator from Kentucky before they can blink an eye. So they're really going to work hard, Paul, over the next 5 to 6 months. I think they're going to keep pounding the pavement, asking the same question again and again and again until they get a response that they can distort in a manner that they can blow it up all over the mainstream, like when Howard Dean went, yeah! And they said, wow, look at this crazy person. He can't be the president. I'm not a fan of Howard Dean. I just saw the media turn on somebody with one act, and they're going to be waiting fervently for that act. So when we come back, it's the Alex Jones Show. We're going to play the clip of Wolf Blitzer basically saying, you're guilty. You don't like civil rights. You're bad, aren't you, Rand Paul? And Rand Paul handles himself impeccably. We've got Paul Joseph Watson on the line. It's the Alex Jones Show, only at Infowars.com and streaming via TV live at PrisonPlanet.tv. We are back. It is the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Bermas sitting in. We're with Paul Joseph Watson. We're going to be going to a clip of Wolf Blitzer grilling Rand Paul, guilty until proven innocent, of course, when you're part of the establishment media, about his racism, and he doesn't like civil rights. But first, I want to tell you about my latest and greatest film, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. Folks, This is something I had worked on over the last 5 years doing research. Alex Jones was good enough to have me out here in the last year and a half to put this together. Graphically, I feel it is the best New World Order film out there. It has hundreds of quotes from the elite establishment hacks themselves, promoting what? Global government and a new world order. So please get the DVD over at Infowars.com or become a PrisonPlanet.tv subscriber and watch it in the highest of quality. All right, I am going to go to this clip right now. Here is Blitzer going after Rand Paul, towing the establishment line.
Back in 1964, would you have voted yay or nay for the Civil Rights Act?
Yes, I would have voted yes.
You've had to issue a statement today. There have been interviews on NPR yesterday and MSNBC. Tell us what's going on.
I think what troubles me is that the news cycle's gotten out of control. I mean, for several hours on a major news network yesterday, they reported repeatedly that I was for repealing the Civil Rights Act. That is not only not true, never been my position, but is an out-and-out lie, and they repeated it all day long.
There he is, Rand Paul, taking the grilling from Wolf Blitzer and really breaking it down. Paul, your thoughts?
Well, people like Wolf Blitzer know that to forward an intellectual argument about something like the Civil Rights Act would take hours. You know, it's an academic debate. He knows that he's got 3 or 4 minutes on there, and that in Wolf Blitzer's case, he needs to dumb it down. And the overall implication that they're trying to heap on Rand Paul is that he hates black people. He's going to repeal the Civil Rights Act. He's going to discriminate against minorities and disable people. And that's what they want to put out there. I mean, you can go and read the fathers of the libertarian movement and professors in universities today who carefully explain where Rand Paul is coming from on this. But they know that the majority of people watching a 3 or 4 minute CNN news segment aren't going to do that. So they boil it down, they dumb it down, and they throw it out as a smear. And that's exactly what's happened over the past few days.
And if you listen to what he says, especially at the end, he's actually for minorities being able to pick their own schooling. If anybody's ever been into the inner city of New York, of course, it's largely minority-based. And he's saying, well, those kids should have a choice at a real education, and the majority do not. And talking about that as a real civil rights issue, that's not on the headlines, Paul.
Well, exactly. And I mean, he's got nothing to defend himself against. That's what Ron Paul said, and it's exactly right, because this has been contrived by the corporate media. They tried it with, calling him a racist country club elitist just because he had his victory celebration there. That didn't work, so now they're going at it from this angle. And the corporate media has lost most of its credibility. So these kind of smears don't work anymore, which is what they need to understand, which is why they're flip-flopping from one to another. And now it seems to have moved on to this. Rand Paul went on the Alex Jones show a few times, and that supposedly makes him evil now. So it looks like they're going to try and run with that one next. But again, it's like flogging a dead horse. Rand Paul and his father Ron Paul have repeatedly said that a significant amount of their supporters are Alex Jones listeners, or at least they're familiar and embrace the same ideals and the information that Alex talks about every day on his show. So to try and, undermine Rand Paul's support base by associating him with Alex Jones and the information that Alex Jones puts out, when most of Rand Paul's supporters have similar beliefs, is just completely asinine, and it won't work. It'll fall flat on its face.
Well, absolutely, but that won't stop them from trying. I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about what's happening with Google. This one is out of The Guardian. Google keeps Street View UK Wi-Fi data as privacy group seeks legal action. If you were listening on Wednesday, I stood in for Alex for about an hour and went over the fact that Google, over the past several years, they're not saying how many years, were using their Street View camera devices, their little cars there, to take all the wireless data and store it. Oh, they were taking open source information and storing it in their data mining operation. But then they said it was an accident, Paul. Oh, it was all accidental. But anybody who knows anything about computers knows to take information and to store it requires hardware and software. And I've had people email me and say, those are just cameras on the top of the car. Yeah, they're cameras, but they're also admitting to data mining. So this article right here, a Google Street View car on Coronation Street, it's not clear whether the rover's return has Wi-Fi. Of course it does. Google is to retain data captured from the UK wireless home networks while carrying out its Street View mapping until it receives more specific instructions from the UK Information Commissioner, it said today. But if you were listening on Wednesday, they said they told them to destroy the data immediately. They're not going to do so. Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, RIPA, for unlawful interception of users' data, and the group may try to go to the police to investigate the situation. It absolutely should be a criminal investigation into why Google is taking everybody's information without their permission. Google is already facing criminal investigations in Germany over its capture of the data from open Wi-Fi networks and faces further investigations from a number of European countries for possible breaches of data protection laws and possibly computer hacking. It says it has deleted the data that was collected in Ireland, Denmark, and Austria, according to those countries' wishes.